this and you're not, if you're watching this and you're new to the channel, sorry, I'm a little tired. This is more going to be laid back, not going to be a pound by pound or beat by beat review. Also, I'm not going to be doing any spoilers, or I'm not going to try to at least. But there are some things I'm going to allude to, and if you're incredibly, whoa, where's that coming from? There it is. Fantastic. I'm awesome at this. Sorry, I was hearing myself in my headset. So, if you are incredibly talented in inferring things, then you may not want to stay here. I'm not going to be doing any kind of spoilers unless you guys want to, and then we can have that discussion if you guys so decide. But this is going to be talking about Rise of Skywalker, or Rise of the Skywalker, and my thoughts on it and where I think everything's going. I have to be honest, I'm going to tell you this straight out. I don't think that this movie is really for critics. I don't think it is for people who do lore channels. And I don't think it's for people who don't have the ability to turn off that analytical side of your brain. Also, should at any point I see spoilers in chat and we're not actually talking about spoilers at the time, I will go ahead and delete and ban you for the rest of this entire session. So, I had an interesting time. I actually invited and took my girlfriend with me, which was really pleasant because, she's exceptionally beautiful. So I was really excited about that. But beyond that, I got to see how this looked from someone's point of view that doesn't make their living literally breaking down universes and hasn't been trained to analyze something to the nth degree. And I think that is where we are going to see the ultimate divide. For people who, and this, I mean, removing the clickbait, the haters who are going to hate it because it's good politics, or they're so, not good politics, but it's good for views or good for watch time, or they're so into this hatred mantra that they can't see their way out, and excluding people who love it because they're John Campea and they get paid by Disney. Removing those two sides, I think that ultimately, if you can't remove your ability to just watch something for the sake of watching it, then, or just enjoy something for the sake of enjoying it, you're not going to be a good fit for episode 9. Episode 9 is competently done when it comes to the cinematography, the CGI, the different shots they get, how everything's portrayed, what they're telling you through the camera, as well as the overall story, the writing of it. Especially as long as you aren't trained, or you don't know how movies are written in a way to cause emotion, the build up, the fall, and then the rebuild, and everything of that nature. It's actually pretty well done on that side. The problems I have with it that make it more meh is that it consistently, well, I wouldn't say consistent, it continues to do what we saw in the other two movies. I'm not going to give it away, but the powers of Rey continue to grow without any real understanding, without any real logic behind it. They do try to explain it, and they do try to do a few callbacks to somehow make her have the abilities that she does. But just, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And you will see her do things that you don't even see Jedi from the prequels or even in Clone Wars do. And then some other abilities she does is you do see them. They are in canon, but it's by Jedi who have trained all of their lives, and all of a sudden she can do it. And ironically, but here's the ironic thing. So when I go back and I rethink everything done with the Rey character, it is so, I do want to say Mary Sue. I don't like using that term anymore. I think it's lost a lot of its meaning. But ironically, even though she is written to be amazing, somehow she doesn't feel as much of a Mary Sue as she did in the last movie or the movie before it. However, when you logically think it through, it's like, yeah, this person, and you know, I mean, and I just watched it, so I'm still breaking it down. So maybe maybe in this one she isn't a Mary Sue necessarily. She's just, the writing is so poor, it doesn't make any sense. If that actually makes sense to all of you great people out there. By the way, just got a donation. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, just let me know. JJMFDL, thank you. I am using the Stream Elements. It has been having some issues. I'm going to fix it this weekend, so it should pop up, and it actually should say it. Also, JJMFL, just so you know, there's going to be a thing that when I get Super Chats and stuff in the future, you'll be able to vote towards what kind of lore I do. So, more on that. Stream Elements, when it comes to those payments, hasn't been working, so if you will tell me or message me what you wanted to say, I'll say it. Anyway, going back, so thank you again. Thank you so much for the support. And a lot of people have called it a video game. And I would actually agree with that. But I wouldn't have ever thought of that if it hadn't been pointed out to me in the beginning. So a lot of it is go here, find X. X either can be found or can't be found. Person Y tells you about it, then you go to find X somewhere else. Or if X is found, you go to find Z somewhere else after being told Y by person Y. It's very, very standard. So when you look at the Rotten Tomatoes, it actually shows you where, and I think, let me take a look. It may have been adjusted by now. But Rotten Tomatoes, Rise of Skywalker, let's see if it's adjusted at all. It has an 88% audience score, 56% critic score. I think that's consistent for a lot of different reasons. She's a Mary Sue, so call her the real Joseph. Yeah. But the real purpose of Rey is to destroy the legacy of the original trilogy. I don't think that was the purpose of Rey. I think that after what Rian Johnson had did in the last movie, there's not a lot that you have to try to salvage it, and you have to try to have it all make sense. But I would agree that this movie completely does away with Anakin and the, I guess we'll say mild spoilers. I don't feel like that is, but I guess we'll say mild spoilers. Does away with Anakin and the Chosen One. That said, really the prequels kind of did away with it anyway. In the prequels and in the Clone Wars animated series, they talk about how the actual myth where that came from, it's a myth by now, but the actual, prophecy could have been misinterpreted or could have been completely inaccurate. So $2 for the kitty, all hell the kitty. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to have that fixed. It should come up, but it doesn't. The problem is, so Daniel Hot Topics, so was Rise of the Skywalker good? Should I go see it? I said that at the beginning. I'll say it again. If you can enjoy something, to just enjoy it, if you can become a part of the universe and let it go and not be so encompassed in continuity or be so worried about what's come before. If you watch this channel because you enjoy it, but not because continuity matters a ton, then I think that you could enjoy it. I don't if you just can't accept that some things just won't work. If you can't accept that it doesn't pull together, it doesn't all pull together, right? Luke was the true chosen one, they say. So was Rey conceived with more midi-chlorians than Anakin? We discussed that again, and I already talked about it beforehand, but she is able to do things that it took Jedi Masters entire lifetimes to do. She was able to do things that is more legends than in actual canon. The beginning of it, now someone did point this out, the beginning of it, they thought was strong. I actually had a couple of issues with the beginning of it. The beginning was very tell, don't show. And so I thought that was a strike against it. A lot of time had passed, and they were trying to get you upbeat, but there were some things in it that just doesn't make sense. Again, possible minor spoilers here, but I don't think it is. It's in the trailers. So when the credits roll up, one of the first things they say is Emperor Palpatine is alive and has sent out a message to all of the worlds looking for X. That's a pretty big thing. That's a pretty big thing that probably more needs to be shown and not told. I get that a lot has happened, but you really don't really want to put that in the opening credits. And the thing is that, well, they'll say, well, a lot of time had to pass. We had to get all of these things up so we could get to it. But when you look at the original trilogy, and I even think maybe in the prequels, a long time had passed. A substantial amount of time had passed from one movie to the next, like in universe, and they didn't have to go that route. Once you get to the footage, the movie itself, not the scrolling, it was basically action-packed from beginning to end. I will say that they were somehow able to make the movie, but this goes back again to the filmmaking. It's competently made, and it is written well enough that you can enjoy it as a story on its own. It from beginning to end, it is basically an action movie that doesn't give you a lot of time to breathe, but somehow is still able to keep you enthralled, which is a difficult task to do, I think. People generally, especially for 2.5 hours, people generally will get tired if you don't give them a moment just to relax and to breathe for a second after going through so much action. But honestly, it felt from beginning to end that it was just action, action, action. There were little bits here and there, but for the most part, it wasn't. And again, that just goes back to it being well written, being well produced. The characters in and of themselves were decent enough. With Rey on the side, I will say this. I think they fixed some characters, but I wonder if they fixed those characters because they lessened their impact in the story. And I'm not at the point that I'm going to give spoilers. I don't even know that I'll give spoilers tonight. But so what was I talking about? Sorry guys, I'm still trying to process it. I was going to do a video, but I decided you guys aren't going to watch most videos I upload that don't have track or aren't more lore, not reviews. You guys don't watch my channel for reviews, so I was just going to do this. But some of the characters, that's where I was going to. Some of the characters in the background, the secondary characters, actually were a lot better. Rose Tycho, I think is her name. I actually liked Rose Tycho, but she was a reduced character to hell and back. But the scenes she was in, when she was actually a part of the movie, she's a character that made sense. She's a character that was the strong character they were going for. Rose Tycho, under Rian Johnson, is probably one of the weakest, dumbest, stupidest characters I've ever encountered. And that's not just Star Wars. However, under J.J. Abrams, Rose Tycho, for me, was pretty strong. Was uh, pretty powerful character. But again, they didn't have her on a lot, so it's possible that because she wasn't on as much, that she didn't matter as much. Uh, another thing that I like, again, explaining it as video game logic or as watching or playing a video game or maybe a video game story is really the best way to put it. There were things that were supposed to have consequences that didn't. There were events where something is supposed to happen. It's supposed to be a big deal, and it wasn't. It bugged me to no end that they never paid off the line. You mean with Rose Tycho? Honestly, I'm just glad they forgot about it. It just, there was no way to actually to pay it off, in my opinion. The dynamics between Kylo and between Rey. I don't know how to put this without ruining it. I don't like the dynamics between Kylo and Rey. I don't like where they went with that. I will say I do like Kylo's story. Kylo's character arc, I thought was pretty well done. There were some changes I would have done here or there. There were maybe one major change, but what they were trying to do between with Kylo and how his character arc ultimately ends, how they ended the movie with him, I don't hate that. It was rushed. It was rushed all hell. This should have been a 4-hour movie. They tried to take 4 hours and put it into 2. For sure. Absolutely. Schneeflock says, nah, the line in the sand. I'm not completely sure what you're talking about. If you don't want to do spoilers, send it to James at james@lorereloaded.com. And I'll try to answer it in a way that won't. Did Kylo ever learn to overcome his anger issue? I'm not going to go into it. Here's the problem. Rian Johnson should have never done the second movie, or Rian Johnson should have been the one to end the series. I forget why. Abrams did the first one, I think, and then it went to Rian, and then it went back to Abrams. Rian, for whatever reason, did not like what Abrams had set up, or whoever did the first one had set up, and completely undid it. JJ, there was no way JJ could have done this and made it absolutely perfect. I will say with Palpatine, the ending with Palpatine is complete fan service and is completely done for... I don't know who it's for. I'll be honest with you. I don't know who the ending was for. There was stuff that... So what people may not know is this channel originally... So originally the channel was going to be like video games breakdown or actual history or Star Wars. And I almost became a complete Star Wars channel, if you can believe it. I am an absolute huge fan of Star Wars. There was a time when I knew more about Star Wars than I ever did with Star Trek. I've always liked Star Trek, but there's a time when Star Wars was something I was more knowledgeable about. And the ending, and I know a lot of Legends, as well as almost all the canon. I haven't watched the most recent series, but I've watched quite a bit. And the ending, I don't know where any of that tied into. I could see I could see where they got and pulled most all of the movie except for the ending with Palpatine. The ending with Palpatine was clever. Let me rephrase that. To a small degree, the ending of Palpatine was clever, and I think they pulled some of it from Legends, but a lot of it didn't. A lot of it just made absolutely no sense. I don't want to necessarily like give any kind of spoilers. Is this a spoiler review? SC, no, it's not yet, at least. Uh, they I'm not doing spoilers just yet. I'm sorry. Someone just mailed me a question because they didn't want to spoil it for anyone, which I appreciate. If you spoil anything here, I'm going to ban you. So I would suggest not doing that. And to this person's point that just sent me the email, there are things that come up that they never question or they never answer. And there's like an ongoing joke or something that never gets answered, and that didn't bug me till just then. You just pointed out. They don't explain where a lot of things come from. They don't explain how a lot of things happened. It just happened because it happens. And again, just to kind of pull back to that, Ray could do just. They had some callbacks too to the original trilogy with Ray, which is fun, but it's obviously just a callback. I think Jeremy Jahns called them member berries. Like, you remember when this happened? And there was an entire segment that was like dedicated to nothing but nostalgia. And it's just, we're going to get to location X. We're on location X. And now we are going to play that nostalgia to the best of our ability. And I think for people who are joining, because some of the people came in, Rise of the Skywalker is good if you can let go of continuity or you don't have to analyze things to the nines. I actually enjoyed it for its competency. I actually enjoyed it for its digital cinematography and the story. And I absolutely loved my girlfriend's reactions, if that makes any sense. She, unlike me, doesn't do this for a living, doesn't break down science universes for a living, and she's not a film student. And so because of that, she just loved it. She enjoyed the living hell out of it. Like, she got excited. And there are points I got excited because, again, I'm a human too. I enjoy it, but she got really excited at certain instances. Things that I saw coming, because I know how story structure works, hit her by surprise, and she loved the fan service. She loved the entire story, and I think that's awesome. And so, again, if you can do that, then you should watch it. If to Seagull's point, that's not the audience of this channel. If you watch my channel because you want to know and you want to analyze a universe to an unreasonable degree, then it may not be. It may not be for you. To kind of take SC to task, and according to your chat title, all franchises are for normies. Fanboys make franchises a lifestyle choice. Nope, I don't accept that. I don't accept that at all. Babylon 5, TNG, certain parts of DS9, Robotech in most instances, even your precious Discovery. There can be things put together that you don't just have to sit back and just turn off your brain. There are entire universes that are better when they're kept consistent and have a continuity to them. When they have not gone through Hollywood's tried and true method of how to make movies, which, by the way, they do wonderful. That's not even a knock at all. So to say that, you're just describing everything it's fanboy. No. That's not how that works. I watch your channel because you're fun, knowledgeable, and honest. Well, I try, buddy. I try. I'll be honest with you. I can't see how people hate or rage against this movie. There is not really any earnest reason that I can see to do it. Now, that's not to say that what they're doing is fake or they don't actually feel it. I don't understand it, and I can't see it. The continuity issues or the gaffes, by this point, it's consistent with the new norm, so it's really hard to kind of get upset about that. I also personally think that the continuity issues here are. It's kind of like, I keep going back to it, but I think that's the best. It's kind of like playing a video game. I don't expect a video game to stay 100%. And video games that try to stick with continuity do it to the best of their ability. I think that it's kind of like the most recent Star Wars video game when it comes to continuity and stuff like that. I kind of put it to that degree. Jordan Seacrest is kind of going back to what I was saying beforehand. If you aren't someone who loves continuity or who has to analyze everything, I think you'll enjoy it. I don't hate the movie as I haven't seen it. I more despise the identity politics. I didn't feel like there was in entertainment. When it came to identity politics, when it came to Mary Sue, when it came to all of the things that we saw in the most recent last two movies, I don't think that was as much of an issue here. Or maybe I've become numb to it. It's one or the other. I think that it was very tame by those standards. I really, really do. I think it was very, very tame by those standards. I don't think it is anything anybody's going to get upset about. And if they are, honestly, it is. There's nothing in it I can think of. You pronounce my name right? No one ever does that? Well, I generally don't pronounce people's names right. So, SC, as always, dude, you are generally inaccurate. I guess let me ask this. Would you guys... by the way, there's 80 people watching, only 20 likes. What's up with that? If you guys want to, I don't mind getting into the spoilers, but I want to see where you guys are. Because if not, I'm probably going to end it here. But I can get into a few of the spoilery things. So, if we all vote to, and you're watching, and you don't want spoilers, then I would definitely suggest to either stop watching or to go back. I suspect there's a whole lot of hate Disney vibe going on. Wouldn't matter how good the movies was. Loads wouldn't like it. I agree with that. I think that I think that's the way with Star Trek too. I don't think it matters what Picard is about to do. I don't think it matters how good Picard will be. I think people are going to hate it because they hate Star Trek, or they have a hate boner for CBS and Bad Robot. And that is a lot of what's probably pushing the hate for the Star Wars movies, because that doesn't make a lot of sense. You know? And why wouldn't a film closing out a 9-film saga be loaded with member berries? Because it should be able to stand on its own, and the way they did it, I just don't like. Are there sex between Lando and Rose? I'm not going to spoil it for you, buddy. All right, guys, I think I'm going to do a little bit of spoilers. So if you're watching and you don't want spoilers, you should probably stop watching by this time. Go watch it and then come back. Most people are going to like it. I think most people are going to be okay with it. Those who are 100% all about continuity and cannot stand if it's not the way they think about it, or that it isn't a certain standard of canon, you probably aren't going to enjoy it. You're going to have a bad time. All right. So I'll get into the spoiler territory and we can start talking about it in 5, 4. Talk to you later, SC. 3, 2. Let me update the title. 1. All right. Refresh for an updated title, good friends. Consider how low voter turnout is for important elections. It's no wonder people can't even be bothered to like. That's true. So let's talk about the plot. Now, if you guys have seen it and you have anything, feel free to now put it in the chat. I'm not going to be filtering that out anymore. Overall, honestly, I do agree with Jeremy Johns. I'm not going to remember it in one day. There was a lot there, and not as much hit me. So remembering it wasn't... so remembering all of it isn't really going to be any big thing for me. I'll tell you, when it comes to the group dynamics and the differences between the different characters, I'm glad they didn't put Rose Tycho and what was his name? Wow, and I just watched it. What the hell is that character? The guy's name? Finn. Wow, I should know that. I'm glad they didn't put Rose Tycho. But hey, Chief Engineer, there's going to be spoilers. I'm glad they didn't put Rose Tycho and Finn together. That wasn't a good match. I thought I was going to get pissed off that that they didn't put Finn and Rey together. I'll be honest with you. That dynamic between those two characters, where they were having their discussions, and where you could see that the friendship that could have went into love or romance turned into just a really solid friendship. That writing, I think, was pretty solid. I also like the writing between Poe and Finn. I think that them being really great friends was done well together. Jeremy Johns complained that it seemed like they didn't like each other. I think they did. I think they were just in a hard situation. And I really felt that there was camaraderie there, or there was friendship there. So the dynamics between the characters is done really, really decently. Kylo and Rey getting together and them, being sweet on each other. I think you'll like it if as long as you don't get too invested in the canon or the continuity, Chief Engineer. I think you'll like it. So the dynamics between Rey and Kylo, I wasn't a huge fan of. I don't think that they should have become lovers or whatever. You remove the romance from it, and I don't hate it though. I think what they did with the their anger towards each other, and they're trying to sway each other back and forth, and the way that they're able to connect, like we saw in the second one, and see each other and interact in each other's different perspectives. I liked that. Again, if you remove the romance, I thought it was done pretty well. The return of Emperor Palpatine was just throwing Palpatine in there to have Palpatine. They never really explained, and I agree. This was a 4 to 5 hour story that deserved 2 movies to have it done right. They just threw Palpatine in there. Palpatine didn't make a ton of sense. They didn't really explain how he was there. They tried to say that he had been pulling the strings the whole time. No, that doesn't make any sense. They did have him cloned, and apparently his entire plan was to have Rey kill him, his Force spirit inhabit her, so that she could be the queen of the new Sith Order, the Final Order. Never was explained. I don't remember, but it never was explained how the fleet, how he created this entire fleet. That doesn't make any sense at all. There were some other perspectives to it. A lot needed to be told. I agree. A lot needed to be broken down, but they just didn't, because they didn't have the time. These also, and I wonder how this fleet was created with the most advanced technology, and yet still was based on Imperial tech, like the original Imperial tech. That didn't make any sense. Snoke was never really explained. They completely and utterly destroy Anakin as the Chosen One. I did say this, though. That wasn't a huge deal for me, and I'll tell you why. Anakin's being the chosen one has always been in flux and never really made complete sense. Also, in the prequels and the animated Clone Wars, they hinted that maybe the prophecy was misunderstood or wasn't right. And so the fact that basically Rey embodies all Jedi somehow inhabit Rey. And then all Sith somehow inhabit the Emperor. And so they have this big battle. Again, the battle is barely anything. The Emperor doesn't really put up a huge or good fight. And ultimately, the Jedi wins and the Sith are completely destroyed. And the way that the build-up for it, unfortunately, the battle was, they had so many moving pieces, and the battle was ultimately a small part of those big pieces, even though they tried to emphasize it. The stakes of what was going on really couldn't be felt. Because basically what happened is you had the light side, or all of the Jedi and Rey, the dark side, or all of the Sith and Emperor Palpatine. Whoever dies means the other side wins, and they win for good. And that just wasn't felt. It felt like your standard end of the story, fight the bad guy. It wasn't, the stakes never felt as high as they were. I liked Kylo's return to good. I think that that was a very effective way of writing it with the time you had. It didn't really feel forced, honestly, for me at least. And him self-sacrificing himself leads back to Legends, because that happened with him in Legends. How do they get so many destroyers, though? It never explains it. Unless I missed it, it never explains how they got all of those destroyed. Not only did they have these destroyers, but every destroyer had a planet-killing weapon. A planet-killing weapon. All of them were mini Death Stars. They also destroy a planet, and I had no idea what the hell planet that was. I pride myself on being a Star Wars fan, but they come out, I think it was like Freya or something like that. If you've seen it, let me know. I didn't hear it well, but I think that was the planet that they destroyed, and I had no idea what it was or cared. It sounds like it's at least better than The Last Jedi. I don't know that it is. It's different. I guess if you like J.J. Abrams' style, it's probably better than The Last Jedi. The people writing this movie had absolutely no interest in space Navy economics. I agree. Yeah, again, I don't know. It was the planet, no plot. Yeah, so one thing I did think was, I don't know if it was clever, but I liked the way they did, they made the Final Order. The way they made the Final Order almost like a Nazi thing. Like the Final Order was ultimately a Sith, and they were going to use the power of their Navy and everyone else to create the Final Order. And the Final Order was they jump into every system with thousands of ships, and if you don't listen to them, you die. It is implied, you're right, it is implied that Palpatine created Snoke in a lab. That's right, that wasn't there. I stand absolutely corrected. Well, AVGNN, my Dominion series loves you. It loves you. You're right, I was wrong. But that, again, still doesn't make a ton of sense. He bioengineered Snoke. He created Darth Vader somehow. He created Rey. None of that makes any sense. 1,000 Death Star destroyers. What the fuck do they plan on destroying the galaxy? They planned on keeping the galaxy in fear. Did they completely end the New Order or Empire? So the New Order, which was to become the Final Order, but the New Order You know, they never really say, so I guess that would be a way to keep it going. The Sith's Empire of Doom is completely destroyed, but the New Order, I think, still has some strength. The editing was I don't think so. I think it was competently put together. I don't think the editing was bad. I have to agree. I have to disagree with her. You have to be lobotomized to find this movie better than Episode 8. I would well, no offense, Gustavo, but I would argue it's the reverse of that. I don't think the Last Jedi was good at all. I think nothing about it. I don't like it. I think Palps was implied to be puppeting Snoke, like he puppeted his clones in the old Dark Empire. I think Palps was implied to be puppeting Snoke. Yeah. There was an episode of the Clone Wars that implied it was Palpatine that manipulated the midichlorians. Sure. I mean, yeah, but that really isn't 100% in the movie. And if that is so, then the Sith, I think, break the story given how powerful they are. If Palpatine is so powerful that he creates life, he creates Darth Vader, he creates Rey, why the hell was he hiding from the Jedi? There was no reason. I don't see. So can you explain what happened to the First Order basically winning in Episode 8? Yeah, they don't really go into that. Again, it was pretty stretched. And you know, now that I think of it, the First Order, or the New Order's never really negatively impacted. Of course, they don't really explain what the New Order owns or controls or anything of that nature. I like what they did with Poe. I mean, this is out of left field, but Poe becoming the general, I think was pretty cool. I liked his arc ending like that. Episode 8 was the Spock's brain of Star Wars. I can honestly see that. Rian Johnson had no business doing Episode 8. He just didn't. I'm not a huge fan of what he does anyway, but it shouldn't have went Abrams, Rian Johnson, then back to Abrams. That's not how you effectively write these stories. JJ was already had an issue. He had his hand tied behind his back with this one. He really did. Everyone becomes a general, even Finn. Well, not everyone becomes a general. It was funny how Finn became a general, though. So Poe's like, you're going to be my co-general. Well, I thought that was awesome. Again, that's the only thing with Jeremy Jahns I disagree with. I thought the relationship between the group was done well. Oh, the one thing I don't like, first off, and this goes back to the video game piece. So they find the dagger, and the dagger has the location of where this artifact X is. It's not even, it's a stupid MacGuffin. It's just whatever. And it's in Sith, right? And so he reads it, and 3PO knows exactly where it is, but he can't because it's forbidden by the Senate or somewhere else to like translate Sith. And so he literally can't. So they have to hack his mind, which will ultimately erase him. It'll kill him. And they do that and erase his mind. He gets his memory back ultimately because why the fuck doesn't he? Of course. And the little droid that was with them knows it. So he does this. He makes this great sacrifice. They find out where it is. 30 minutes later, this little random droid that popped up that they're going to sell for merchandise knows where it is too. Making his sacrifice worthless. I did not like that. Did it turn out that Finn was Lando's son? It was not. They did actually meet other defector stormtroopers, which I thought was interesting. Star Wars is for normies. I don't know about that. I don't know. I think the what's up, Max? We got we got spoilers, just so you know. I think the Clone Wars and some of the animated series isn't necessarily for normies. My favorite Lego set is Slaughter and People, not just get the men, but the women and children. I did what you did. I see what you did. I see what you did. Did Luke return for the movie? He did. He returned as a Force ghost, and it was at Rey's weakest point. She's about to destroy everything. He catches it, and he's like, you're the only Jedi. The fact that she ends up being a Palpatine was interesting. I don't know how many of you guys know that, but she came from it's a couple generations down, but ultimately not suited for work. So mute it for the next 30 seconds if you're at work or whatever. I'm going to say this in 3, 2, 1. She came from the penis of Palpatine, and that was a thing. And then after all the Skywalkers were dead, she took the Skywalker's last name. Her parents apparently were like the son and daughter of Palpatine or something like that, and they just died like pansies, man. This just it was bad. Better than TLG, worse than TFA. It treats the characters, old and new, better than The Last Jedi, but the writing was possibly the most contrived, stupid. I don't think it was contrived or stupid, Jersey. I disagree with you on that. But I would say that it was by the numbers, for sure. Luke, yeah, so Darth Rex, to what Darth Rex said is they at one point she's destroying everything. She takes Luke's lightsaber and she throws it, and he, by the way, thank you so much for the super chat. The only way that I can keep this stuff going is through support from all of you guys. Thank you so much. She throws it, is about to destroy it. Luke's Force ghost grabs it and hands it back to her and tells her she needs to be a Jedi. Never really thought of that. That could have been an FU to Rian Johnson. It really could have. Her parents were the son and daughter. I don't know if they were son and daughter. Palpatine mind-controlled Rey's grandma. Okay. For me, it really wasn't important to reveal who Rey's parents was. It wasn't a huge issue for me either. But, there was I'll say this, and this may be me looking too much into it. One thing I did like at the end, Rey creates her own lightsaber, and the lightsaber was actually yellow. Now, I really like that. And this, again, may be me looking too much into it, but the lightsaber, yellow lightsabers were originally utilized by guards, by temple guards. They protected the Jedi. And I wonder if that was symbolism to show that Rey protected and will continue to protect the Jedi. If it was a way to bring it back. It's so clever that I don't know that they did it. It's one of the things that I really thought would have been wonderful. Darth Rex says he specifically says something like a Jedi should respect a weapon more than throw it away. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense when you say it now. I just didn't put that together. He also says him staying on the planet was a mistake. So I do wonder if he was taking some shots. I do wonder if he was. The more you talk about it, the more I wonder if he was taking some shots. I think they just forcefully wedged the concept of Rey being a Palpatine because it was a last-ditch effort to ditch the Mary. I said this before. The light colors have never really been explained on screen, though. They actually have, Lee Banning, but they haven't been in the movies. I'll grant you that. They've never been in the movies, but they actually have through a lot of the cartoons and a lot of the animations. Definitively, the... definitively the yellow lightsaber has always been in defense of the temple. That's the only time it's ever been used. You can't say that for anything else. But blue and green have been defined. And there was another one. I know purple, but there's another one other than purple. But they do actually have their definitive of what type of Jedi that they've been used. Um, Disney Star Wars doesn't care too much about Legends content. It's like the color was just something throwaway. Again, but it symbolized it. I would love for it to have done on purpose. The symbolism there. Honestly, Rey being a Palpatine makes her absolutely crazy level. Oh, that reminds me. Somehow, on paper, she should seem more like a Mary Sue, but this movie is the least Mary Sue-ness of Mary Sue-ness for me. The yellow lightsaber has not been decanonized. I promise you I know what I'm talking about on that. But she is more powerful. She has more abilities. She does things that Jedi who have trained for their entire lives can't do. That said, somehow it's more subtle and doesn't seem like it. And the way she's interacted with other people, she is just so glorified. Either that or I've become so numb to it. It doesn't. Yellow sabers are also utilized by Jedi Sentinels, says Jersey. I know that's... I'm aware of that, but I don't know... I don't know if that's in canon. I do know that they... guards utilize them. So it's a visual explanation and not a dialogue. I mean, I don't know. I want a plaid lightsaber just to confuse, but you should do that. You should definitely. Also, if they wanted to adapt Dark Empire, then they should have adapted. They did take a lot from Legends, I think. I agree that this was the least Mary Sue movie of the trilogy, but that's kind of easy to do since the other two were so over the top. And I think that's the thing. I think that if I didn't see the first movies, I would probably be leaning towards it being more Mary Sue. I just don't think she is in this. Definitely compared to it. What the hell? Get off of my thing. Stupid bug. I'd love to see a new series or movie trilogy based on the Grey Jedi Order. I mean, who wouldn't? That is my only real complaint about Rey. She has powerful abilities without training. And that's the other thing. I mean, she takes it to another level with a lot of the stuff that she does in this. She has more powers than she ever did beforehand. And so they try to explain it away that she's been trained by Leia. That Leia has been running her through this course and she's doing all this stuff with Leia. There's no way. You're telling me that Leia, even under the tutelage of Luke, Leia has the powers, has better powers than Yoda, has better powers than Mace Windu, than Kit Fisto. You're telling me that Leia taught her all of these things, you know? I don't buy it. The Clone Wars is still canon, and the yellow lightsaber was depicted among the weapons of the Jedi Temple Guards. With one ancient example in Rebels. Yes, I'm aware. I agree. Simic magic. Win what? What are we talking about, Simic? So you guys got to understand there is a delay when it comes to this, so you actually have to tell me what you're talking about. Actually, the Jedi are most similar to wizards like Merlin. I never really got the Space Jesus analogy or the Space Jesus vibe until Anakin and prequels. Luke didn't have significantly more training than Rey does, but the difference is that he skipped Yoda's teachings and then immediately lost. Sure. Sheev Palpatine was insanely naturally powerful in the old EU to the point that he was able to murder a whole ship of armed men with his bare hands and no training. You know, so yeah, but here's an interesting piece. So there's a part where this ship is leaving orbit. And Rey just straight up the Force Awakens it. So it's trying to escape, and she literally grabs it in the air and is pulling it down. And they think that Chewbacca's on it, right? And so she's trying to save Chewbacca, and so she's pulling it down, and Kylo walks up. I'm not completely sure what the hell Kylo is doing. He puts his hand out, and I think he's pushing it. So she's pulling it. He's pushing it. And she gets pissed off that he's fighting her, I guess, and she straight up force lightnings the living hell out of it, just destroys the transport, just annihilates it. And so she thinks that she killed Chewbacca, and she finds out that she didn't. And she then stops worrying about how she utilized the Force, utilized a dark side power, and straight up murdered people who were a part but didn't really do anything to her. I do, in fact, have a Patreon account, and that Patreon account is patreon.com/lore reloaded. If you become a Patreon tonight, which is great, watch the most recent video because the Patreon stuff is going to be changing a little bit. Rey pulling the ship down was a part of it I kind of liked, but mostly because it reminded me of the Force Unleashed. Yeah, not the Force Awakens, the Force Unleashed. Yeah, she straight up Force Unleashes that thing. She reaches up and just grabs it out of the sky and starts pulling. At least it wasn't a Star Destroyer. But yeah, she just does the hell out of it. I think the Jedi as Jesus is a bad joke, but you have to know the Bible. Who has time for the Bible these days? I don't. Technically, yes, but I stopped selling merch when the Teespring I was using, they did some really underhanded stuff. I need to get back to doing that. Her Force Lightning, the transport is 100% supposed to be a clue to her real parentage. Yeah, but I mean, they tell it within the next 5 minutes of the story, though. Also, remember, though, Yoda in ESB says the only limitations are those you place upon yourself. Sure, can you tell me where she learned that, though? Where she got the training from Yoda? What will you say to people who tell you that it's not the audience's place to tell companies what to write and that it's not worth getting upset over a movie? Well, first I'd say, I'm not really upset and you haven't seen me upset. Pray you never do. But beyond that, I would say that while you do have every right to write the story any way you want, and if you own the IP to it, you can make changes to canon and continuity any way you want. But as a living, breathing person that lives in the great United States, I can make any opinions that I want to, and I can put value on anything that I want to as well. And my criticisms of your work, in fact, is something that adds value for me and many others. Additionally, attempts to silence somebody by saying, well, it's just a story and it was made for kids. Shout out to you guys who get the reference. Is a way to shut people up and just allow others to buy merchandise without using your brain. It's a way to let corporations win and not have them held to account. I don't want corporations or people. I want corporations and people to write the best stories that they can. And I don't think that I or they are done any service if people don't question it. And it's up to the audience, like you find people, to decide who you want to listen to. We get to vote with our wallets on what we go and watch, though, so it's kind of in the interest of at least to care slightly. I'd agree. You're expecting us to watch it, right? So write something we'll want to see. I'd agree with that, too. Yeah, I don't buy that at all. I'll say this. I'll go this. I think that to become vitriolic or to become toxic about it is a mistake. But to simply say, I don't like this, or this doesn't make a lot of sense, or to break it down, even get upset about it, isn't necessarily a negative. And I think anybody who says that, I don't know. I'm not. Hey, if Rey is a creation of Palpatine, then it actually does explain how she can use Force abilities without training. I don't buy that. I don't think Palpatine is so powerful that any of his offspring can just instantly do 1,000 things. I mean, she may be powerful, but no training? Nah. Mm-mm. Talk to you later, Jeff. Thanks for coming by, buddy. Yeah, Jeff, sorry, man. I put it in the title. If you want to watch the earlier stuff, so I hope I didn't ruin anything for you. What would Riker think of Star Wars 9? He'd probably get upset because I think that at least when it comes to the battles, all of them were fighting competently. I would say JJ has done the best he could with the weight he had on his shoulders. You know, that's what I asked myself at the end of the day. Could I have written something better given what Rian Johnson has done in 2.5 hours? I don't know that I could have. There were things I would have changed. There were places I would have went. I would have emphasized other things. But I don't know that I could have wrote a more competent story or a story that was written better. When I say written better, I meant the hero's journey or doing it in a way that audiences will like. You know? It's okay to have a disagreement. It's not okay to get mad and try to shut down another person. It goes back to what you mean by that, Lee. I would agree that people who try to say you're bad for liking it probably aren't the best. But me criticizing it or me saying I don't understand how you could like it so much, it doesn't make any sense. I don't think anything's wrong with that. But I think we can all have our opinions. Riker would screw every alien. Yeah, he would. He'd get everybody. I guess they did have Riker and Lando, I suppose. Supposedly Anakin is no, Anakin, I mean, it depends on how you want to look at it. Anakin, they try to infer that maybe Palpatine used the midi-chlorians, but I think that makes him too powerful. I don't subscribe to that. I don't think the Emperor is that powerful. There's no reason for him to do all of this if he's that powerful. The Last Skywalker 100% felt like a pretty solid attempt to fix all the problems Last Jedi caused. I don't disagree. Why did Clone Palpy create Snoke? Snoke didn't make any sense. Him pulling all the strings in the background, the Palpatine always being in the background and pulling the strings makes no sense. I'm sorry. I'd buy Star Wars Reloaded. Yeah. I mean, I would try, but I don't think I could do better than Abrams with what he had. Did you know those Star Destroyers have 150 mm of plot armor at their favor? Sure. People hate it when I say mm. I'll get comments. Watch, there'll be comments on this tomorrow. He used the dark side of the Force. Right. Why make the most grotesque and inhuman clones possible when you could create an army of flawlessly human infiltrators? Or, I mean, again, it's not just the cloning thing. If he's powerful enough to create Anakin, if he's powerful enough to create Rey, if he's powerful enough to basically completely manipulate the entire Skywalker, according to that theory and that inference, he created the Skywalker line, and he created Luke. He created Anakin. He created Rey. He created Ben. That doesn't... I'm sorry. If he's that damn powerful, there's no reason for him not to just take on the entire Jedi Order at the beginning of Episode 1. There's just no reason not to. What do I mean by MM? I'm sure you meant millimeter. Snoke is a cheap foil for someone. Word salad. What? I think Plagueis made Anakin. I don't think Sidious ever fully mastered Sith bioalchemy to the level Plagueis did. I think based on all the evidence we see, the Force created Anakin as a way of balance, as a way of... I don't want to say balancing out. I think the Force wanted the light side to win looking at the last movie. I think the Force had a bias, and it created Anakin to create that line. In Legends, there are other Sith pairs existing alongside each. In Legends, were there other Sith pairs? There were other Sith in Legends, but it depends on which one you go with. I think Snoke makes sense in the aspect of Palpatine knowing he was too vulnerable to make himself known. Why? He created every line. All of the Skywalkers and all of the Palpatines were created by Palpatine. How is he so weak? He manipulates from afar. He created Snoke and used Snoke. He has 1,000 ships. He has 1,000 ships that can destroy planets willy-nilly that nobody knows about. If he hadn't sent out his message, he could have just sent them up into the air and destroyed everybody. Right? Why are your claws out? What's up with that? Put the claws back in. Don't make that noise. Don't you get sassy with me. Not while we're in front of people. You always get mad in front of our friends. Why can't we do this in the back end? I just don't understand. You want me to die. I can tell. All right. I think he has like 10,000. It's 10,000 ships, but he can send those 10,000 ships out and just start destroying planets. No one can fight those ships. And he apparently has the ability. He says it's because of Rey and Kylo. That didn't make much sense. It seems like he can just pull the life force out of people. And somehow, I don't know. It just seems like he can just straight up steal life. So why doesn't he just do that from others? I don't get it. Claws out for OP Palpatine with the glass jaw. Yeah, I mean his death too was very weak. I would say it was excessively weak. I'm sorry I woke you up, buddy. I didn't mean to. Go back to sleep. Wait, I think the plot goes Shiloh shows up at Exegol, takes word of the final order back to the First Order that gets leaked by Hux, and then after that, Palpatine... No. Palpatine sends the message beforehand. That specifically happened in the crawl. Palpatine sends the message, but where Palpatine was what was leaked by Hux. Yeah, no, and that's... I talked about that beforehand. That crawl gave far too much tell and not show. General Hux, yeah, they wanted just to get rid of that character. Rey and Ben are cousins and kissed, man, but then again, we also saw Luke and Leia kiss, dear God. Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. For some reason, Palpatine needed Kylo to be Exegol to start the plan, maybe. Yeah, I mean, he just, again, doesn't... Did he create Rey, though? I got the impression that she was just there and lent her his power. No, he did. She was his granddaughter. She was a direct line to him. Why isn't Palpatine art enough to turn off his lightning? Yeah, that was my other thing, too. That made no sense to me either. So the way he dies is she reflects his lightning onto him, right? And so... he's sitting here trying to lightning the hell out of her. She turns the lightning onto him, and he just keeps going until he kills himself. In Mace Windu, when they did it in the prequels, that honestly, I think, was planned. I think that he did that to himself. He scarred himself to get under Anakin's skin. I think he was playing him. I think he would have stopped if his life was ever really in danger. And so I talked about it before, but we've had people leave and come back in, so I'll say it one more time. The battle between Palpatine and Rey was basically the battle of all the Sith versus all of the Jedi. And it never felt like that. It just felt like your standard end of the day action scene. And it should have had more gravitas. That said, when I talk about it with my girlfriend who loved it, I'm just going to enjoy from a non-breakdown point of view. You know, I'm just going to try to enjoy it for what it was. He also didn't turn off the lightning when Vader threw him down the power core. Yeah, but I mean, he was probably freaking out at that point. I guess you could say he was freaking out. I don't know. You can stop shooting lightning. And specifically, this just straight out murders him. You would think the third go-around he would learn not to stop doing that when it's hurting him. I did like Kylo coming back. I like Kylo fighting. I like Kylo's turn. I honestly wasn't surprised he turned good. I expected that. But I think that was done well enough. It felt believable to me. I think Obi-Wan versus Anakin was the last great lightsaber battle the saga had to offer. It was too long, in my opinion. I think that battle went on way, way too long. Hey, how come Luke as a Force ghost could interfere when Kenobi couldn't do something like that? Could Kenobi not, or did Kenobi choose not to? That one doesn't bother me as much. Luke was far more powerful in the end than Kenobi was, so him being able to interact I don't think is as big a deal. He might have been taught by Yoda, who could directly interact. Kylo and Han scene, yeah, I think what they did with Khan was... I think it was pretty well done. I like that he wasn't a Force ghost. When I looked back, I was like, oh, God, are they making him a Force ghost? That would make no sense. But they didn't. The dialogue could have been written a little bit better, but basically I did like how he was fighting himself. You know? He turns around and Han was like, you need to become good. You need to turn good. Kylo Ren's dead. My son's still alive. And Kylo says, you're not real, you're just a memory. And he's like, you're right, but that doesn't make me wrong. I liked that. Dialogue could have been a lot better on it, but I liked that meaning. I liked the fact that he wasn't a Force ghost. He's just in Kylo's mind. But basically, he admits it, too. He's just like, yeah, I'm a figment of your imagination. That doesn't mean I'm not right and that you're not a good guy. That you haven't accepted. So... and they try to go back the whole thing, help me do something that, I need your help. I'm not sure I'm strong enough. And he touches him the same way he does. And then he throws, that's a little contrived. That was a little, but I disagree. I don't buy it, Scott Perry. I know you say that it makes sense that he was in the background doing everything. That makes him too powerful. He should have won in episode 1. This new Shirley really doesn't bring much to the franchise. It's like they're going through the motions and through a checklist of things. What's up, No Budget Productions? Hey, man, I'll be doing a review of your video coming up probably next week at some point. Probably not on Christmas, but at some point. If you guys haven't checked, go to his channel. I don't think you guys can actually click on it. He does fan fiction of Star Trek, and he has some actually pretty good ones. So... And it says no budget films, but his stuff is pretty good. I mean, there's an obvious budget there. Whoa. I think this is it. I think this is yours. Hold on. Let me verify. But I want to address what you just said. No, that's not yours at all. So you said it felt like it made no sense or that they were just throwing things together. What the real problem is when it comes to that is that it's schizophrenic. It never should have been JJ, Rian Johnson, then back to JJ. They should have kept it with Rian Johnson. They just should have. There was nothing that Rian Johnson could have done to, and it's no budget productions. That's where I was getting it wrong. There's nothing that Rian Johnson, there's nothing JJ could have done. He already had one hand tied behind his back. Yep, this is right. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask. Go right there and check him out. Make sure that's the right one. Yeah. No, it's not. Why am I so bad at this? Hold on. Don't go to that website. That's not anybody important. Well, it may be. That's not the person I want you to go to. So, with what J.J. Abrams had in only 2.5 hours, I think he did the decent job that he could, It really was a 4-hour multiple movie show. I mean, 4 or 5 hours at a minimum. There it is. Check him out, guys. I want a cantina scene of all the Force Ghosts drinking. That'd be funny. I'd see that. To go back to the beginning for a moment, am I the only one who thought the light skipping chase scene with the Millennium Falcon was kind of pointless flash? I forgot all about that. The light skipping doesn't make any sense. I don't even understand what they were trying to do. Hyperspace jumps are supposed to be like this huge issue. Something like something difficult to do. One wrong one wrong movement and everybody dies. And you have Poe, a non-Jedi, jumping from planet to planet in between everything. Are you kidding? Now, I like the fact that the TIE fighters could follow him. I thought that was cool. But beyond that, that made no sense. The other thing that I do like, talking about that, going back to Finn, the fact that Finn is basically force sensitive, they all but confirmed he's force sensitive. There's no way that he can do half the things that he was doing with the feelings and stuff. Yeah, which goes back to tying in with him using the lightsaber. I really think that, I've always stated, I think the lightsaber initially was only able to be used by Jedi. Non-Jedi could use it, but not really in combat. And them having him use it was kind of a break, I think, even from canon. And so the fact that he's force sensitive now makes it make more sense, in my opinion. Not to mention the entire plot of the last film was they're not supposed to be able to track us at hyperspace. Yeah, that's another point too. I didn't even think about that. That completely breaks in the first part. They're not supposed to be able to catch or track him, and all of a sudden he's just jumping everywhere, and they're following right on his tail. They know exactly where he's going. It's like they're going down the same road. That is a good point. Wow, I didn't even catch that. Zamoko, that's why you make the big bucks. Yeah, Han used it. It was supposed to be a big deal. It was supposed to be this precise thing. Han also shouldn't have been able to use it, just so we're all on the same page here. But it was supposed to be this awesome thing that now anyone can do, really. I mean, I get that Poe is one of the best pilots, at all, but still. If Rey can magically wield a lightsaber with no training by being force sensitive, why not? I agree, but when Finn used that lightsaber, he wasn't force sensitive. Or at least they didn't lead us to believe he was force sensitive. The TIE pilots read the script. Yeah, they did. Rocks can skip on a pond. Lightsabers with... Rocks can skip on a pond, so obviously ships can skip space-time and hyperfolds. Even if we say that's true, and I don't even have an issue with that. I have an issue with the fact that he's coming in between on planets. Just out of nowhere. Precise jumps. You know why they use hyperspace lanes? Because there's nothing in those hyperspace lanes. That's why they do that. And this guy is going from planet to planet to planet, jump to jump to jump. You going to be okay? From planet to planet to planet, jump to jump to jump without any issues. Like, really? Laughable Larry helping out the channel. Thank you so much. I guess I could turn that on, couldn't I? Nope. Thank you. Yet again, I just want to point out that at the beginning of the movie, the Resistance guy says the Sith fleet will begin destroying planets in 16 hours, meaning the whole movie took less than 16 hours. Yeah, the 16 hours confused me, but now I get where you get that time slot. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense either. They're going to like 600 different planets. Yeah, I mean, a lightsaber blade is not the same by any stretch at all. I agree. Han warned against making those jumps in A New Hope. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why they have... That's a good point, Captain Moroni. That's why they have hyperspace lanes, because they know there's nothing in those lanes for you to slam into. And the problem with hyperspace is that it goes so fast, it is literally impossible. And yet, somehow, Poe does it. At the end of the day, I think the 88% audience score is well earned. I think that... I think that it's something they... I think that people will like it. I understand. I do understand the 56%, and I understand why a lot of people said it was meh or they didn't prefer it. But again, it's well done. It's well written. There's a lot to dig into. And if you can't turn off the ability to analyze what you're looking at, I don't think you're going to have a good time. Objects cause mass shadows in hyperspace. Don't hit those. It's bad. I agree. Hyperspace is supposed to be the equivalent of Warp 10 or beyond. Yeah, I mean, it was like exceptionally fast. I don't know which is faster. I think Anti-Trekker did one, and he proved that Warp was faster, maybe? I don't know. I don't know. All right, guys, I think I'm going to end it very shortly. Y'all had any questions or anything we wanted to come up before I end this beast? Are the lines routes, or are they places where they can go to hyperspace? They're actual routes. They're actual routes that you line up and you run across, that you go through. The Force Awakens does the jump through a solid object. The Last Jedi does the hyper ram, and Return of Skywalker does light skipping. Yeah. The Force Awakens, they jump through what a solid object did they jump through in The Force Awakens? I don't remember that. I'm not saying they didn't. I just don't remember it. Yeah, it's right now at 88%. I can get behind that, honestly. The Dominion did nothing wrong. That's true. I can't turn off my brain, so this movie sounds lame. Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between turning off your brain and turning off your ability to analyze. If you can't turn off your ability to analyze, then it may not be for you. I mean, that's just fact. They jump through a ship and then the planetary shield. Well, they bypass the shield because it's supposed to only stop slow objects, I think, or something. I don't know. I guess it's possible. Don't gravitational fields bring ships out of hyperspace regardless of calculations? It's a safety feature of the drives. That has always been a little bit of a gray area. They created ships, interdictors, that can stop someone from entering into it because of the gravitational pull. Maybe they said it was the computers, but that never made any sense. A gravity well makes sense. It, like, locks you down. Stopping the computers, you could just override the computers, I think. So that never made a lot of sense. Lee Banning, they actually did jump through the shields. It's how they got inside. So yeah, they went through the shields. That was a specific plot point. Yeah, I would say that the hyperspace skipping would make planetary shielding, even ship shielding, useless. I would agree with that. Because he is quite clearly appearing in planetary atmospheres. All right, guys. I do think we're going to end it here. Thanks for watching. I hope this adds something to it for you. At the end of the day, I think you can enjoy it if you don't... If you can enjoy this channel, but not have to have this channel when it comes to sci-fi, then I think you may be able to enjoy it. If you just can't let go of analyzing things to that point, then I think you're going to have a bad time. What do you think will happen to the franchise, or the future of the franchise now? I honestly don't know. I honestly think they'll probably continue milking it just with different aspects of it. They'll probably go back in time. They'll probably prequel the living hell out of this for a while. I think they're going to go full Star Trek on it. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for coming, guys. I am tired. I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.